Well, at first glance, Peter, it really looks like a pretty classic horror game, where a monster is chasing you in an abandoned school. But in reality, the story is really much more tragic than that. And I'm absolutely not kidding. No, I need to stop. This is serious. The goal is to play as a student trapped in a cursed school. But very quickly, we meet Akira, a young girl who was originally completely normal, but who was bullied at school. Bullied to the point where she couldn't even eat in peace without being harassed by her classmates while she was eating in the cafeteria. You can't even enjoy your meal. But then the question arises, how did she end up like this? Was it the bullying that turned her into a monster? Well, that's what we'll find out in the game a little later. Because Akira's life wasn't just about bullying, unfortunately. She had a life full of tragedies. And that, combined with the bullying, apparently literally turned her into a vengeful spirit. And the worst part is that this vengeful spirit that Akira became is doomed to stay in the school forever. Well, guys, we can't find any pictures of her old school at all. Anyway, we can see her old face. Apparently, it's this young girl here, Akira. So, a Japanese girl. It looks like they want to hide the evidence or something like that. Whoa. And, well, apparently, there have been a lot of movies or even books made about her. I think we managed to find the school where she was. Koganshima checked. I'm not sure if it's exactly this one. I think the other school closed down, to be honest. You can see people trying to return there. Oh my god. Yeah. What is that? A spell? Why the school? Why? Why is the school closed, guys? I would have liked to believe it's not true. And if we go on Roblox, if we type Peta, which is the name of the creature, right? If we go into the game, look at this. Guys, look at the details. There are actually cursed ideas. We can see the scrolls like we saw, guys, in the video, like in the short. We can see the classroom here. Very special. It really looks like the Jujutsu Kaisen high school, I was gonna say. But that's normal. We're in Japan. There's a room we can't access. And don't tell me those huge handprints are hers. I really want to go see her original face. We also have a map of the school, right here. Apparently the girl's bathroom is on the left. Let's see. Maybe she's... No, but now people are going to think I'm crazy. Maybe she's in there filling up the bathroom. Is that it? Are we going to see the transformation live or not? The bathroom is right there, huh? People are going to think I'm crazy now. No. Well, yes. It's there. It's there. No one's watching, right? Stay. It's for science and research. Who's walking? Who's walking what? No, seriously, who's walking, guys? Yes, I'm all alone. I'm all alone on the server, guys. No, but what are these crazy noises? No, I'm freaking out. I really don't like this at all. I hate this, guys. I'm taking the TV to the safe room. It shows the key locations. I accidentally found a key in the girl's bathroom. Got you. Never look in the hole. No, it's her. No, it's her. But what do I do? Guys, I swear I didn't know we had to go into the girl's bathroom. Seriously. I just went upstairs to check. And it's nasty. Why are you doing that? Wait, you take it down to transform. We can clearly hear the noise upstairs. We can clearly hear the noise from upstairs now. Do what? Find the key. It's good. There's one left. It's upstairs. It's upstairs. Of course. I saw her hand. In the multi-purpose room. Yeah. Let's go to the other side. I swear to you guys, I saw her hand. Well, the question now is that we're missing just one key. And it has to be upstairs, guys. Okay, I can run faster like this. Did you see her? I can't. How am I this scared? But wait, this is huge. That's the problem. What is it? She's coming. It's getting on my nerves. Guys. No, it's getting on my nerves. Honestly, it's getting on my nerves. I don't know if it was her or not. What is this game, guys? But honestly, they really respected Akira. The game is well made. Luckily, I did this with some ladies. The cavalry is here, don't worry. Honestly, I wasn't scared. The crazy thing is that you can clearly see her face shape. So we see her here in real life and we see her here in My Goodness. Next game. Well, you probably know Dress to Impress, right? The game where you have to walk the runway and get judged by other judges. But it hasn't always been like that. The history of Dress to Impress is a bit terrifying. It really feels like a conspiracy. But where it gets really weird is that Dress to Impress was created in 2023. But there were two Dress to Impress games before that. We can see that 7 years before that, there was a game released called Fashion Celebrity 2. You might think they just decided to make a better version, but no, because Dress to Impress simply copied this game. You'll see where I'm going with this. It's important. We can see that the game was released in 2016, so that was 7 years before Dress to Impress. It's the same concept, just more old-fashioned, and you're still judged by competitors. The game still has 1,122 players. I mentioned 2 games launched with Dress to Impress, and that's where it gets creepy. Because the first thing you might think is that Dress to Impress simply copied this game, Fashion Celebrity 2, and that's it. That's all. But there was another game game called Top Runway Model, which this time is simply the same concept as Dress to Impress, let me remind you, but 10 years earlier, and there are currently 37 active players. You might be thinking, but yeah, what's actually strange about the story of Dress to Impress? What really happened? Because here, it's literally the same game. We have a timer, we have clothes, and we have people who are going to judge us right below. If you knew this was the most hacked game ever, with the worst hacks on Roblox, you'd understand. If you don't believe me, just watch this video. Warning for sensitive souls. This was only the beginning, the birth of Dress to Impress. For context, we're still in the same game. And the game gets the most devastating hack I've ever seen in my life. Literally, people join and it feels like some kind of ritual, guys. I don't want to speculate about what happened, so we're not going to watch much more, guys. I'll leave it at that. Be careful, that's all. Here's where it gets really strange, guys. The lore of Dress to Impress is odd, especially since the game is so active now with 122,000 players on the latest version. But you might wonder, because Top Runway Model, the very first version that Dress to Impress literally copied, got hacked 3 times, with some hacks that I can't even show you on video. But why did the game get hacked so much? It was really popular then, maybe that's the issue. Was it too popular? Was Dizzy Purple's concept too revolutionary then? Also, the Dress to Impress creator is different from the creator of Roblox's Top Model Runway. Unfortunately, these hacks have left the game with just 47 active players and essentially dead. Was it a setup by the creators of Dress to Impress or Fashion Famous 2, which is Celebrity of Fashion, the game that came out right after? Or are they the same people who created a Roblox group together and are plotting some really shady things behind the scenes of Dress to Impress? The lore is really very strange. And as you can see, if we look at the creator of the game Fashion Famous, which is the second game that copied the very first Dress to Impress that came out in 2014, we can see that they don't really seem to be friends. Looking at their friends list, none of them follow each other. The theory is a bit dark. We've also seen Dress to Impress lore isn't all sunshine and rainbows. The first game was hacked 3 times, as if someone was determined to take it down. Why? Then in 2016, 2 years later, another game called Fashion Runway is released, but it drops in popularity. We don't really know why, and we have Gwiggy releasing Dress to Impress, so a game with the same concept once again, years later. That's my theory. Scheming, little secrets between neighbors. What really happened? Let's move on to the next game. Next, we'll discuss Rainbow Friends. Well, first of all, we could say that it's just another terrifying game where there are creatures that look a bit like those from Poppy Playtime. By the way, we'll talk about that in a moment, that chase you in an amusement park. But the story of this game is much darker than that, actually. Because long before Rainbow Friends, long before Poppy Playtime, there was a movie that came out called Rainbow. There's a story, a series that came out between 1972 and 1992 called Rainbow. And the thing that's terrifying about all this is that, well, you could say I had to find the series on Internet Archive, and that's terrifying as well. If you look at one of the creatures from that series, it's very old, probably from that year. Ask your parents about it. If you look at the creatures from that series, you can see that there's a monster that looks a lot like our blue friend from Rainbow Friends. Except that he's not blue, and he doesn't have the crown. So you could say it's just a simple coincidence. The series is called Rainbow. The monster looks like the monster from Rainbow Friends. Rainbow Friends may have been inspired by it since it was created later. Let me tell you, none of the creatures in this series were even slightly scary like in the game. How did they release this in 1972 like it was normal? Just look at the monsters. Because the story absolutely doesn't end there, guys. It's terrifying. Remember this monster, okay? But at this point, the mascots haven't become monsters yet. That's why we're going to talk about one of the most likely inspirations behind Rainbow Friends, which came out in 2021. I'm talking about Poppy Playtime. And yes, because if we look closely, we can see that the game Rainbow Friend was released on November 14, 2021. But a month before that, we can see that Poppy Playtime was released on October 12, 2021. And as it happens, the main monster in Poppy Playtime is blue. Just like Rainbow Friend, it doesn't look exactly the same, but the story is kind of similar. For those unfamiliar with Poppy Playtime, you enter a toy factory a decade after all its employees vanished. Then, you meet the company's mascot, named Huggy Wuggy, who strangely looks like the monster from Rainbow Friends, who at first seemed harmless, but then starts chasing you throughout the factory. Anyway, later we learn that he was actually capturing humans to put their consciousness into toys. That's why the stuffed animals aren't very nice in Poppy Playtime. But actually, this idea isn't new. Several years earlier, a developer named Scott Cawthon, let's just say this guy was going through a tough time in his life. Well, let's just say he was poor, but literally, he was really struggling financially. His games weren't selling. By the way, I'll just let you take a look at one of his games. You'll see where I'm going with Rainbow Friends, Poppy Playtime, and Poppy Playtime by looking at the game he created. This guy, who was struggling financially, let's just say he tried. And so, here's what this developer decided to release in 2013. Super N Sun Lumber Company. So it's a children's game with beavers where the goal is simply to help your dad who works with wood. It's not a joke. There were also quite a few mini-games. But as you can see, don't these creatures look familiar? Especially look at this image. Some of you may have already guessed. What if I told you the person who created this game went on, years later, to create the most famous horror game franchise in the world? I'm talking about Five Nights at Freddy's. This poor guy became rich starting from that. Ensun Lumber Company. But you're going to tell me, yeah, okay, but where are you going with Ami Arc-en-Ciel? Well, simply because, guys, Rainbow Friends isn't inspired by Poppy, isn't inspired by Rainbow, but is actually inspired by Five Nights at Freddy's. And yes, the timing would have been perfect with Poppy Playtime. Some inspiration came from Poppy Playtime, but the main influence was Five Nights at Freddy's. Who would have thought that this developer would release a game that completely flopped? By the way, people, even back then, without knowing about Five Nights at Freddy's, were saying that the creatures were creepy in every comment about the game. The game was free at the time, by the way, and you can see that it was pretty weird for 2013. The game seemed really old and there was already something wrong with it. And actually, our friend Scott, he's not stupid because he saw the comments. And you know what he said to himself instead of crying in a corner and saying, "My game is bad, I give up"? No, actually, he used those comments to create the most popular game in the history of horror games, Five Nights at Freddy's. But the thing that's really scary about Five Nights at Freddy's, and I can see it here, and it brings us back to the story of Rainbow Friends, is that it's inspired by a true story. Just look. The story that inspired Five Nights at Freddy's. In the 1980s, there was a Chuck E. Cheese at an unknown location. Guys, Chuck E. Cheese was a restaurant chain. 4 employees stayed late to finish their work. Their boss was also present in the offices. There should have been 5 people inside. Wrong. They didn't know at the time that a former employee was hiding in the bathroom, waiting for closing time. Remember this image, guys, okay? Of Chuck E. Cheese, that mascot. My god, guys, I didn't know the story. I'm devastated by the story. I'm shocked that there's a real story behind it, which later inspired Rainbow Friends. His name is unknown. The man was armed with a small gun and was waiting to get revenge on the person who fired him. He jumped out and took down everyone in his path, including the boss, but only one employee survived and was able to tell the story. But when telling the story, there's one detail we can't miss. Simply because the employee had just kept the Chuck E. Cheese mascot costume on. That's psychopath. No, but look at that. You even wonder how long he'd been planning his move. Well, of course, guys, since this is a true story, our condolences to the people who died that day. And apparently that's the story of Five Nights at Freddy's, which is literally the same thing. You work in a pizzeria and the animatronics, that's when it starts. By the way, that looks like the beaver from the first game that inspired Rainbow Friends. The Poppy Playtime story is wild. It's amazing how the developer turned it into a game. His game launched on CD as an interactive experience. Undeterred, he now has a movie in theaters, Five Nights at Freddy's, which inspired many games like Poppy Playtime and Rainbow Friends. As you know, I always save the best stories for last on the channel, and the next one is even scarier. If you type Feeling in the search bar, which is a game that came out in 2023 and has 0 active players today, let me tell you, the story behind it is also very terrifying. First of all, as soon as you see a developer with 666 in their username, you know we're going to have a problem. Be the best version of yourself, the one you can be. That's literally the only image there is of the game. Let's launch the game. And so, here we are in the game. My name is Jenny. These are my feelings. So we can see that we go straight into the game. It's raining. We have some ants. Why does she appear like that? Okay, alright, I just know, guys, that this girl's name is Jenny. And apparently there's a very dark story hidden behind her game. We can see her here on her bed, crying, I guess. And apparently, guys, this game was written by her. Simply because she was being bullied so much that she decided to create a game too. And you see that she appears in front of me every time to express her feelings, so her emotions. So that would be the name of the game. Before we go see all the sad stuff, let's go over there. And as you can see, she's in front of a birthday cake. And I think that's the only time she smiled. Thank you for the 100,000 visits. You made my day. Guys, you'll understand why 100,000 visits made her day. Simply because this girl was being bullied so badly. Really, use any words you want, any adjectives. And you can see that she's celebrating her birthday all alone. But she's smiling simply because she got 100,000 visits. That's already sad. But you can hear laughter in the background, which we'll check out in a moment. You'll see, they never listen to anything. So here, we can... Whoa, who's that? We can see her looking at someone on the couch watching TV. He bullies me every day just because I exist. That's basically the translation. Waste of space, fake, loser, fat, demon, stupid, scary. Go whoa, 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 whoa. Go cut yourself and die. Guys, this is sad. Poor Jenny. Okay, let's see what's over there. Actually, she found Roblox. It was her only refuge, actually, to express her feelings, if I may say so. We can see here, she's crying with broken hearts. I guess it's so sad. I cry every day. And here we can see her as a little girl watching TV. Probably the only, guys, it's so sad. The only time she remembers being happy for the last time, actually. Well, we also have this side here. Here we go, which tells us to make a donation. Make a donation if you want. It will help. Puk, puk, puk. There you go. Guys, that will already be something. Sending her strength, by the way. Wow. We can even see an animatronic here, guys. It's on purpose. Anyway, let's check out the last room. This game is so big, guys. Whoa, 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 whoa. Am I ugly? Am I alive? I don't know. Should I put an end to it? Oh, wow. What do you mean, should I put an end to it? Luckily, the translation censors us a bit here. I don't feel well. Help me. Who am I? Should I live? So that's what she's saying while looking in the mirror. By the way, the mirror is still loading there. Well, as you can see, this is probably the saddest game in all of Roblox. Am I stuck on the toilet here? Okay, we have a bridge here that crosses the ocean. So wait, whoa, I just want to be normal. I just want to be loved. Whoa, what kind of last message are we going to get here on the bridge? I just want someone to love me for who I am. And the last message, no. Hey! It said, if I die, guys, in the last message. I just had time to see that. And now, here's what no, this is crazy. Where are we right now? My feelings are as big as this ocean. And the game ends. Oh my god, guys. Alright, there you go. And I guess I don't really need to describe what just happened. Oh wow, guys, this game really messed me up. In the meantime, I invite you to click on one of these videos where you can see games that have recreated real-life tragedies, really serious ones that actually happened in real life. But they remade them in a Roblox game. So there you go. If you like that, I'll see you over there.